I'm joined now by Congressman Tom Cole, Republican from Oklahoma. Always good to see you, Congressman. Happy 4th of July.
Great to see you, Chris. Hey, same to you. Thank you.
So last hour we had on the founder of the group Moms Demand Action. And here's what she says. She said, look, this bill actually, by forcing folks to go to court, actually makes it easier for people on terror watch lists to get guns. That, in fact, it's going to make the system far more complicated, and it's not going to achieve what you want it to achieve. What do you say to that?
Well, frankly, we just disagree. I think you're talking about a constitutional right here. So, number one, having an FBI, literally able to look at this as a transaction is attempted and make a judgment.
But you're not suggesting it's a constitutional right for someone on a terror watch list to get a weapon.
Well, first of all, there's lots of people on that list that shouldn't be there, including members of Congress, government officials. It's a very imprecise weapon, or tool, if you will, and it ought to be looked at pretty carefully. I don't think you automatically assume somebody is a terrorist because they're on that list when people like John Lewis have been on that list, for goodness sake.
Do you think that there's such an urgency when people get guns that if you can't go through this process and realize, hey, Tom Cole, hey, John Lewis should not be on this list, that it really is imposing on someone's constitutional rights versus the safety that would be gotten from making sure that people who are legitimately on that list don't get guns?
Remember, the gun seller himself has the right not to do the transaction. If you have any doubt or any suspicion, indeed, in the tragic case of Orlando, one gun seller did make that and then notified the appropriate authorities, and sadly, action wasn't taken before the awful murders were committed. So there are multiple layers here to try and make sure that the people that shouldn't have weapons don't get weapons. But it is a constitutional right, and I don't think you automatically preclude somebody from exercising their rights any more than you do the right of free speech or the right of religion to somebody that you may think is going to misuse those rights, as some terrorists indeed have.
There are a lot of polls on this, and one of them shows 93% of Americans support background checks for all gun buyers, many of them gun owners themselves, obviously. 86% support no fly, no buy, yet you called the Democratic sit-in a publicity stunt. Are you on the wrong side of public opinion here?
No, actually, in terms of, they were on the wrong side of what they did. Look, they violated the House rules by demonstrating on the floor, holding up placards, fundraising off of it. That's an ethics violation. And frankly, if the House were run that way, I think they would live to regret it if they were ever the majority, if you legitimize these kind of tactics. So I think the issues are very legitimate. It's one we ought to be dealing with legislatively. We're going to have legislation on the floor this week. But I think the tactics the Democrats used were deplorable and ought to be condemned by anybody that frankly cares about the exercise of free speech and an orderly democracy.
Let me ask you about presidential politics. Can't get away from it even on the 4th of July. I'm sure you know about this controversy about what appears to a lot of people to be a Star of David on a tweet that was sent out from Donald Trump's Twitter handle. Many people say it has anti-Semitic undertones. It appears, as we said, to show this Star of David over $100 bills. Do you think the criticism is fair? And one of the criticisms of Donald Trump has been he simply doesn't apologize. Should he just say, this is not what we intended, and I absolutely, positively denounce anything anti-Semitic, because he's someone who has had a track record of retweeting things from organizations that include white supremacist groups.
Well, I certainly wouldn't excuse that, but as I look at the tweet that I've seen on television now several times, I think, boy, it is a stretch to think this is meant to be anti-Semitic in any way. And the fact that the campaign immediately, substituted a circle or a balloon instead of something that could be a star, I think showed that they respected the criticism, but I don't think in any way they meant to suggest anything anti-Semitic.
Congressman Tom Cole, again, happy 4th to you, and thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. You have a great 4th as well.